Yeah, let me just jump in here and say, where all this comes from with nature. It comes from biology. It comes from what we know about biology and what we know about physicality. And, you can throw your head back like that, but women are weaker than men. And so, Lauren says, well, why don't we just let the men compete with the women? And, that makes sense if we're talking about a controlled, sort of constructed competition with rules and a referee and things like that. But the world is not like that. The state of nature is not like that. There are not rules, and there's not a referee, and there's not a sort of artificial surrogate goal. There is just all against all. And the kinds of societies that emerge from that throughout all of history, everywhere. And I love when leftists bring this up. They're like, well, we found a village in the Amazon jungle where there was a woman priestess or something like that. It's like, okay, but every other civilization, whether it's the Arabs or it's the Russians, Chinese, Japanese, Europeans, it's male kings, it's male generals, it's male dominated, male superpowers. That was the Soviet Union, that was Rome, that was America, that's all of it. And primarily that kind of situation prevails because men are physically stronger. And when it comes down to it in the world, men can make women do what they want because they're stronger. Also, and this goes back to the ancient role of men as well as, and you could say, oh, well, we have the United Nations now, so strength doesn't matter. Men are historically the hunters. Men are the ones that went out and fought the game. Men are or fought to kill the game and bring them back home to eat. And so men are also smarter than women as well. Men can outsmart women. They can also beat women up. And that's why men are the kings, the philosophers, the mathematicians, engineers. And again, the only reason why this is not the case anymore, the only reason why we have this kind of, there's this challenge from women in the society is because they're being given affirmative action. They're essentially being paid by the state. It's essentially a subsidy. There's all kinds of quotas in academia. There's quotas in the workplace. And essentially, it's like the government is paying these people to be these things. In any kind of normal society, there's no way they would be able to compete with men. So the question is not, we'll let women compete with men. If you subtracted all the sort of constructs of society, men would win every competition and they beat women up if they couldn't. And so they'd win those too. It's only that we have this kind of managerial state where they're enforcing and trying to create an artificial equality where there is no such thing, not in fact, not in theory. And so if we took all of that away, the sort of natural thing would resume. And it's always fighting back. You see that in women's preferences as children. You see that even in preferences for women as adults. Women's nature and rebellion against what's being pushed on them artificially. It's irrepressible.
I want to bump it over to